Alright, welcome back. So today we're going to be making sure that our goal prefabs are going to print up here, just like they should. They're a little off-center, but we can fix that. And then when I make matches that are part of the goal, it's going to display right up there. So, cool. Let's dive right in here. Okay, diving right in. The very first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to make a new scene that's going to contain what we're going to call like a goal prefab here. And so I'm going to create a new empty scene. I'm going to make my root node be a texture rect. And this texture rect is going to be a goal background object that I created. We'll put that in just a second. And what I want is I want to have a gold background so that I can differentiate it from the UI. And then in here, I'm going to have a texture inside of that for the type of piece or obstacle that we're looking for, and then a label for our progress towards that goal. So as a child of this, I'm going to make a vertical box container. And then as a child of that, I'm going to make another texture rect. And I'm also going to make a label. Alright, so now my texture rect, I need to set that to be my gold background. And I will add the gold background object to the itch.io file, but for now, I think I just put it on my desktop. I did. It's this, it's just a simple gray rounded edge rectangle with a width of 40 and a height of 60. So I'm just going to pop that into here. Now, I'm going to highlight my main texture rect, and I'm going to make the texture the goal background. Okay. Now, I want this to be a little bit offset, because I want the middle of the texture rect to be the middle of the sprite. So I'm just going to I'm going to highlight my texture rect, and I'm going to press this button here, which makes it so that if I click somewhere, it's going to move the whole thing and not any of the children. So I'm going to move this halfway over, and if I wanted to make sure it was halfway over, if I went down to rect, I'd make sure that my position was -20, 0, because this is 40 wide, so halfway over would be -40. My vertical box container has texture rect and label. It has room for that. I'm going to make a couple adjustments to my vertical box container though. First, I'm going to change my margin. I'm going to give it a margin of 4 on the left, on the top. On the right, I'm going to give it a margin of 36. And then on the bottom, I'm going to give it a margin of 56. So that I just have this 4 pixel margin on every side. Now my texture rect is inside there, and my label's underneath that. Now for my texture rect, for now, I'm just going to set it to be one of the pieces. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm just going to grab this blue piece and pull it into where it says null. And you'll notice right away that this is way the heck too big. So I'm going to click expand. It's going to go away. And my stretch mode is going to be keep aspect centered. I'm going to go down to my rect, and I'm going to turn my minimum size to 32 by 32. This also needs to be inside of its container here, so I'm just going to scroll that down so that my left margin is 0, my right margin is 32, and my bottom margin is 32. So there's that. Now if I go to my label here, my label expanded too. Let's actually change the margins on the VBox container to be what it should be. Because the VBox container itself, when I added that great big texture, just made itself gigantic. So I'm going to reset these really quickly using the toggles, and then I'll reset them by hand. So left is 4, top is 4, right is 36, and bottom is 56. So that's better. Now if I look at my label, it should be inside as well. So I'm going to give just some generic text to my label here. I'll say 0 out of 5. I'm going to set the alignment to be center, and the vertical alignment to be center as well. I'm not going to worry about any of the auto wrap clip text or anything like that. I am going to go down and take a look at my custom font. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to make a new dynamic font, and then click on that to create a font. In my settings, I'm going to set my size to, I want to say 12 or 14 was good when I was testing this out. And then for the font itself, I'm going to load a font. I'm going to go into the fonts folder. And I like the way the blocks look, but I mean, maybe try something else here. That's not too bad. It's a little space agey. Let's try, did not mean to do that, go back. Let's try a different one. Let's clear that out. Load, let's do, that's kind of good too. I can make my size probably just a little bit bigger, maybe 14. Nope, 14's too big. So let's go back to 12. And I want to go back to my vertical box container. My right margin should still be 36. I'm just going to pull that in so that's where it should be. Okay. Alright, nice. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to call it goal prefab. So goal prefab. And then I'll save this into my scenes folder. So save scene, into scenes, goal prefab, save. Alright, cool. Now, I want to show you what this is going to end up looking like. So if I go to my top UI scene, so scenes, top UI, I've already set this up so that it's just about right. If I go to my HBox container here, I'm going to add a couple children, and I'm going to instance those scenes by using that chain button. So scenes, I'm going to find my goal prefab, and I'll add one. Okay, and you'll see it makes it to the left. I'm just going to duplicate this a couple times. Now you can see that this is making them from left to right. I'm going to make a couple changes to my HBox container. So the first change I'm going to make to my HBox container is I want it to, instead of begin, I want it to be aligned to the center, which automatically makes it look better. And then you can notice that this is going up just a tiny bit too high there. So I actually need to change my margin container that holds all of these. So the way that a container works is any child of the container is controlled by the container itself. So if I were to go to my HBox container and just add a margin on the top, so if I went to margin top and added like 6 pixels, it would go down, but then as soon as I would hit play, it's going to go right back up to where it was, which is, see how it's right back up? It's ignoring that margin, and the reason why is because its margins are actually not controlled by itself. Its margins are actually controlled by its parent. So I'm going to go up to my main margin container here. I'm going to give everything a top margin of, say, 6. Oop. Oh, that's why. I have to set it in the customs. So margin top, 6. It moves everything down a little bit. It actually makes a couple things look a little weirder. That score bar there, if I were to go and mess around with this vertical box container, I want to say I'd have to change the sizes. I'll come back and work on that in just a little bit here, but for now I just want to kind of play with this so that my general margin of everything looks okay. And so that's pretty good. Now right now I just have these goal prefabs in here just so that I can test to see what it would look like. In fact, if I save and go back to my main window and hit play, you'll see them there as well. Now it's hard to tell, or it's hard to read at this super low resolution I've got it at. Pretty much every cell phone will have a higher resolution than this, but what I can do to make it a little easier to see, so I'm going to go to my project settings, and I'm going to go to my window display. And right now my test width and my test height are half of what they should be. I'm going to make them bigger than that. So I'm going to make my test width 1.5 times whatever 288 is. And don't have the calculator handy. 288 times 1.5 is 432. And then I'm going to make my test height 1.5 times 512. I should be able to do that in my head. 768. Can't do math in my head today. That's alright though. So I'm going to save this. Let's close. Let's play again. Let's see how they show up. Yeah, that's a lot more visible. And to be completely honest, any cell phone is going to have a higher pixel density than this as it is, so it should be okay. But if it's not, you can still keep playing around with those fonts to try to get the clarity that you want. So, all right, cool. Now, we want to make sure that these are doing something. So, hey there.
Yeah.
What's up?
Not much. Just coming out of bullshit with you.
Okay.
About nothing.
Okay.
Except maybe a little carryover, a conversation we started in the teacher's lounge.
Oh, yeah.
We got kind of interrupted. So you just...
Okay, sorry for that weird cut. I know almost no time has gone by for you, but for me, it's actually it's 2 days later, I think, than when I started this. So, looking at our gold prefab here, the first thing I want to do is I want to go down to the script, and I'm going to add a new script. And I'm just going to call this gold prefab, but I'm going to make sure that I put it... Stop. I have a cat who wants attention. I'm going to make sure that I put it in my scripts folder. So, gold prefab, save, and create. Now I'm going to create a couple variable references here to what's actually going to be on the goal. The first, I'm going to keep track of whatever the current number is. So, current number. I'm going to keep track of the value of the goal, the max value, so var max value, the type of goal it is, so var goal value. I'm going to make sure that I default that to an empty string. The texture, goal texture, and then I want to know what the label is, the label here on the goal itself. So this is going to be an onReady var. And I'm going to call this goal label equals $, and I want to get to the label. So there we go. Let's go into distraction-free mode here. I'm going to make a couple little methods here. One to set the values, and one to update the values. So I'm going to make a function set goal values, and this is going to take a couple arguments. So first, we're going to need to know a new max value. So new max. We're going to need to know a texture. So new texture. And then the last thing that we're going to need is a type. So this is going to be a new value. All right. Now what I want to do first here is I'm going to set my my texture to be equal to that goal. So in order to access that texture more easily, I'm going to make it an onReady variable as well. So onReady var, call it this texture equals textureRect. And so I'm going to say this texture.texture is equal to new texture. Next thing I want to do is set the max value. So I'm going to say max value equals new max. And then I'm going to set the goal's value. So I'm going to say goal value equals new value. Then I'm going to make another function here to update the goal. Now my current number, I'm going to default this to be 0 so that I don't have any weird errors with that not being defined. So I'm going to make a new function. This is going to be update goal values. And this isn't going to, what do I want to do? Okay, so in here I'm going to increase the current number. So I'm going to say current number plus equals 1. And then I'm going to set the label only if the count is less than the max value, less than or equal to the max value. So if current number is less than or equal to max value, I'm going to access my goal label. So goal label dot text is equal to, and I want to have this kind of string set up here. So the way I'm going to set it up is I'm going to say that I have an empty string, and then to that I'm going to add the current number cast as a string. So string current number plus a slash, and then the max value cast as a string. String max value. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to do something similar here when I'm setting my goal values. So I'm going to say my goal label dot text is equal to, and instead of doing, I can just do my current value. So, and I could actually break this off into its own function as well. That would probably be better, but I'm lazy and I already started this way. So string max value. All right, cool. So I'm going to save that. So what I want to do, I could set the goal values from ready, but I need to know what the max, the texture, and the value is. So instead, I'm going to set these from my top UI when I initialize, or when I get a signal from the goals in the main scene. So let's just kind of go over how this is going to work. So in my main scene here, I've got my where is it? There it is. I've got my goal holder. My goal holder on ready is going to go through each of these and emit a signal to my top UI, telling it that it needs to create a new goal. And then it's also going to tell it what the texture should be, what the value is, and then what the max number is. And so then the top UI is then going to create all of that. So in the top UI, in my HBox container here, actually I don't even need it to be in the HBox container. I can get rid of these goals that I have here that are just placeholders. So I'll delete those nodes. Yes. And in my top UI script, I'm going to create a reference to what that goal container is. So this is going to be an export of type packed scene var, we'll call this goal prefab. And then I'm going to create a function to create those goals. So I'm going to do function make goal, and then this is going to require the same arguments that our goal prefab did. So if we look back at our goal prefab, we had new max, new texture, new value. I might as well just use these. So I'm going to copy those, go back to my top UI. I'm going to paste those. And then for my make goal, I'm going to create a new instance of the goal. So var current equals goal prefab dot instance. I'm going to parent it to the goal container. So might as well make a reference to the goal container here so that I have it for easy access. So on ready var goal container equals, and it's the HBox container that's inside the HBox container. So that's it. And then I'm going to say goal container dot add child. I want to add current. And then I don't have to do anything with the position because this is part of the control nodes. So I'm not directly setting the position. That's all going to be set by the margins and stuff. Now I want to do current dot set, what did I call that? Set goal values. Set goal values, and then I'm going to pass in new max, new texture, new value. So that should be good. Now I'm going to make a signal from my goal holder for my goal holder to create those goals. So this is going to be signal create goal, and then a function to create them. Function create goals. So for I and get child count. I want to emit signal create goal, and then I'm going to pass in get child I dot. Actually, let me store that value, so this is going to be a little bit easier. A couple of people had pointed out in earlier videos that I wasn't caching values to variables, and so it made my code a little bit longer than it needed to be. And that's 100% true. I just have a tendency to think it's faster not to do that, even though it's way slower. So I'm going to say var current equals get child I. So I'm storing the value of that child. So now I don't have to keep doing get child I. So the order in which I sent them to the goal prefab was max, texture, and value. So I want to send out and in the goal. Alright, so it's max needed, goal texture, and goal string. So max current dot max needed current dot goal texture and current dot is it goal string. I'm really bad at remembering stuff. Alright, I'm going to save this really fast. Let's go back to our goal just to make sure. So it's max needed goal string goal texture, and the order it needs to be in, so it should be max needed goal texture goal string. Max needed goal texture goal string. Okay, cool. So we're going to emit that signal. Now let's go back to our game window and let's connect those signals from our goal holder, create goal, connect to the top UI. And the top UI is going to be sent those three things, the new max, new texture, new value, and then for each of them we're going to create a new goal. So let's do, come on, make goal, and then pass in those values. Alright, so I've done a lot of programming here without checking, so I'm sure there's going to be at least one error. So let me save this, and then I need to do a few things. I need to go to my top UI. I need to tell it what the goal prefab is. There we go. And on here, I need to make sure that I know what my goal textures are. So I think I put in one fake one. Yeah, this white one. I'm going to remove that. So let's delete that node. Okay. And so I've got my pink one, and I'll find my texture for that in art, pieces, and then just grab my regular pink piece, put that right there. And then I've got my blue one, and there's my blue goal, and I'll put that right there. And let's save, and let's see what I broke here. Let's hit play. Okay, well, oh, that's why. My goal holder, I created the signal, and I created the function to emit the signal for each child, but it was never done. So I need to do that in ready. So function ready create goals. Alright, so there's one error. Let's see how many more there are. Got a distraction free so I can see the output. Okay, cool. They're both up there and they're what they're supposed to be, but if I make a match towards whatever the goal would be, it's not actually, you know, advancing my goal. So I need to make sure that whenever I destroy a piece, I'm broadcasting that information, and I'm already doing that in my grid. Last time we set up some stuff to check the goal. I'm going to broadcast that to my top UI as well, and then in the top UI when I'm checking my goal, and actually I want to make sure I'm doing this right. So it's only doing goal type. So in top UI, I'm going to pass in goal type, and I want to go through everything that's in the goal holder, so goal container, children, and I want to check to see if the goal type is right. And let's actually go to my goal prefab here, and I'm going to pass in an argument which is going to be, let's say, goal type, and then we're only going to do this if goal type is equal to goal value, and then these three are all going to get indented another level. Alright, cool. So in my top UI, we're checking the goal type, and then I'm going to say for I in goal container dot get child count. So for all the children that are in the goal container, which are the goal prefabs, I'm going to, is it check values or set values? Update goal values. So I'm going to update, oh, I need to get the child, so I'm going to do goal container dot get child I dot update goal values, and then I'll pass in goal type. Alright, so let's test this out. I'm really uncertain. I'm like 90% sure this isn't going to work, but let's see. So, oh hey, look, it did. I'm actually kind of amazed. Alright, and that one maxed out at 3, even though I got 4 of them. Let's get some more blues here. Maxed out at 5. Cool. Now somebody had mentioned that this goal met printing again and again might be an issue, and if you want to protect against that, it actually won't the way that we do this, but if you want to protect against that, if you go to your goal holder and open up your script, when your goal, when we're saying goal met, we could add another variable just to see if the goal's already met or not. But yeah, we shouldn't need to, because this is just checking to see if it's max needed. Actually, no, let's do that, because that'll make our next part easier. So let's do var, we'll say goal met, and we'll default that to false, and then we'll make it true here. So if not, so if it's already false, goal met, we're going to make it true. Goal met equals true. Alright, cool. So there we go. We've created our little UI to go with this. There's going to be another part because we don't have a way currently for those icing pieces or the locks pieces or the slime chocolate pieces to broadcast them as goals yet. So we'll have to do that, and then we also need to have a game win state when all of the goals are met. So if we have every goal met, game win. Yeah, so I'm going to save this, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. I feel like this was a explanation sparse episode, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. You can join my Discord. I'm not every day there. On weekends, I usually like to go do stuff, so but I'm usually able to answer questions on the Discord pretty quickly. If I'm not there, though, there's other people who are, honestly, some of them are way more knowledgeable than I am. So thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful day.
If you enjoyed this video, consider giving a like, subscribing to the channel, or telling a friend who might be interested. Also, please consider following me on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can earn access to tangible rewards, like early access to videos, backer-only videos and series, polls for future topics, streams, and even individual tutoring sessions. You can find a link to that in the description. And as always, have yourselves a wonderful day.